This title caught my eye because I heard somebody else talking about this the other day, and I wanted to kind of get your guys' opinion. I don't really go looking for guide content because I guess I'm not really a min-maxer. I probably could do with going to look for guide content, really, if you look at my gameplay. But I heard some other people saying that guide content is kind of dying in general in gacha games. So this obviously, this video caught my eye. Guide content creation is dying in Wuthering Waves. What are your opinions on that? Do you think it's more just that as the average gacha player is becoming more savvy with the typical gacha mechanics, and let's face it, most gacha games don't really, strive out of the typical mold, shall we say? There's nothing breaking the mold in being super unique in the mechanics of the game that, once you've started to learn a few, it kind of can extrapolate that knowledge into other games with a few nuances here and there. And I don't think Wuthering Waves really lends itself really to needing guides because for the most part, it's pretty simple, isn't it, in how you build your echoes for one. There's usually the specific things that scale off, and if you're rocking a DPS, you want crit rate, crit damage, and then maybe a few other things depending on the attribute of the character. That's pretty much it, isn't it? Really. So like I can understand why that might be a point, but it's like say somebody who doesn't watch this sort of content. I don't really go looking for it, but I've seen people saying this about the gacha in general. Let's watch the video and see what he's got to say anyway then. This is from Glare. We watched the video from Glare before. It was a good video. Let's see what he's got to say about this then.
Guide content creation is dying in Wuthering Waves, and I think it might be for the best. I'm sure you all...
Do you know what though? I've got to be honest and brutally honest here. I think, in general, I don't think Wuthering Waves is really getting a lot of traction across the board. I think people are more interested in lore stuff at the moment with Wuthering Waves, and maybe like theory crafting, talking about potential things that could be in the game or things to change or being critical of specific things, because at the minute, the content's just not there, is it? Like, it's like when it comes to streams, it's why I don't stream Woo every day, because what you're going to come to watch me do dailies every single day. There's nothing else to do, is there really, unless you're giving yourself some arbitrary challenges or you're just going to go around mint picking all day. You need to be really discussing a lot of stuff about the game and gacha itself, I feel like, to make it entertaining. Because, I just don't find myself watching people play Woo recently because there's nothing to watch them do. And when there's new story content out, I want to do that myself rather than watch somebody else do it.
All know that guide content have been all around gacha, whether it's Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail or even Wuthering Waves. Content creators try to make sure that they make as many guide videos as they can to cater towards their audience and therefore building their community. But I feel like ever since the start of Wuthering Waves, guide content has been dying quite a lot, and a lot with some exceptions like say Tantas, who often create guides on some characters and gain a lot of attraction out of it. I think it's just because of...
I think he tends to be a little bit more specific, doesn't he, though, Saint Tontas? In like talking about a specific thing rather than like, right, this is how, well, I don't know, I ain't watched all his videos, but it's like, right, this is how you build this character for this specific team. He kind of like goes over that lightly and then like kind of focuses in a little bit more on a specific thing. Could be wrong about that, but from some of the videos I've watched, that's what it feels like. But I think Saint's just one of those up and coming content creators. It feels like whatever he touches turns to gold, I guess, really. So like, I feel like whatever he makes, whether it's guide content, theory crafting, critical content, glazing content, it's all going to get traction anyway. So sometimes it's hard. You'll look at one particular channel and we're like, well, there is people wanting to watch it, but I think it's more that people want to watch them rather than that specific type of content.
Of how he presented himself in the Wuthering Waves community, and I think I can compliment on his hard work and great video editing. And I think that it's a great topic to start talking about this issue and why it's been happening in the gacha community. Keep in mind that this video has not really any research behind it, but rather just my thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a bit of anecdotal content. I'm here for it. At the end of the day, it's not statistical evidence. But, it is fair sometimes to the stuff you see with your own eyes in the circles that you watch or that you hang around with. You can tell sometimes, I'm like, well, dude, there's a lot less of this specific content in the people I watch. Of course, there's probably people out there still doing it. I think it's fair to, be like, I ain't got no evidence for this, but it definitely feels like it.
in order to spark a discussion in the comments section below. So if you guys have anything to add on the video, please feel free to do so, as I do appreciate a lot of feedbacks and opinion from a lot of you guys. But anyways, enjoy the video. So why is gacha guide content creation dying recently?
Okay, we've been a
and
bit
especially
more
for
general
small
then,
creators
okay.
like myself. Well, the main reason behind it is that it's just available practically everywhere, and
I think the thing is as well, some websites have killed it, haven't they? You know, like whether it's like your Pridwin, whether it's Grey Ravens, whatever website for whatever game, there's websites for it now, isn't there? Where you can just go look at something like, right, go do that. You know, you can have it on your second monitor while you're doing something rather than watching a video that is going to be designed for entertainment purposes as well. You might miss something having to keep going back to the video also. It's just probably a little bit more, I guess videos make it a bit more digestible when it's a bit more of an abstract, complicated idea or potential a theory of like, why, well, this is why I think this might work when you're doing this kind of thing and when you're actually doing this mechanic in the game, because you can see it with your eyes and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. But when it's just down to basic things like woo-ah, when it's like, right, these are the echoes you want, this is the weapon you want, this is your team synergy, bam, you know, you got 3 things really, and that's it, haven't you?
it can be accessed at any time and any point. I think a lot of
Now,
smaller
obviously, there's more
content
nuance to
creators,
that,
and
like.
again, I've been guilty of it as well, don't understand that a lot of people can just go on Pridewin and get full access guide of the character they want to level up.
True.
Don't get me wrong, there might be some extra stuff that the content creator can add to the guide, but if people just want the builds and echoes for the character, they can just straight up go to on Pridewin and get the content that they need. And that's mostly what happened in...
Like, I feel like for Woo though, it's quite basic, isn't it, for your echo building? Obviously, there's min-maxing, and if you want to get that, like, extra few % out of your build and that extra bit of damage, you know, you're going to want to go for specific substats and a specific set of echoes, you know, whether there was the arguments of the 4-4 or the 4-3 builds and all that sort of stuff and particular characters and that. But at the end of the day, you can get by really, by brute forcing it with Woo, you know? Your DPS, you want your crit damage, your crit rate, pretty much it, you know, energy regen on specific other ones, and like, that's pretty much it, your healing bonus, and you're good to go for the most part, really.
In the gacha space, people don't really need to watch
Maybe
a 20-minute video of a random guy just
boom,
yapping about a character when they can just go on a site and have a full explanation over there with their builds and echoes. I literally do the same for my account, even though I get guides.
As well, I don't want to throw shade at guides, people who do guide. I think a lot of the guide channels as well, they tend to be kind of like, I don't know, that, you know, they're just not that interesting to listen to sometimes. Maybe I'm talking about the smaller content creators here. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm not going to throw any shade.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Videos all up on my
60
face
TP underscore BRRRRT underscore gaming followed your channel.
Pridewin and look at the best builds, so it's not something that I would be interested in watching, in my opinion. And again, it's less time consuming. The other reason why guide content creation might be dying is just due to the fact that it has become extremely stale, and a lot of people who have explored this part of gacha market have already established themselves as, or the guide guy. What I mean by that is that
I think as well, though, like I say, I think people are just becoming a little bit more savvy to gacha games in general. You know, as the space grows, people learn one game and they can kind of extrapolate that into another game. As I say, there might be little different things here and there. And when you first start the game, it might seem totally different and overwhelming. But as you get into the game, you're like, okay, this is the same stuff. It's just got a different name, or it's applied to a different part of the game, either the weapon or the gear or the character themselves. It's pretty much the same stuff, isn't it?
That content creators like Xiox or Braxophone are already well-established YouTubers that make great guide content for everyone.
That's true as well. If you're up and coming in terms of the guide space, in pretty much every game, there's always an established guy that, I suppose as well, when you're an established guide YouTuber, you've got like the more, the aspect of authority behind it as well, because people are looking and be like, well, dude's got 300,000 subs off guides. He's obviously doing something right. And then you'll look at the dude who's got like 1,300 subs doing guides, and you're like, well, and it's not to say that some of these small channels don't have insanely good guides, because they do. Because like I've watched a few little channels and I'm like, damn man, this dude knows what he's talking about. But you look and you're like, well, he obviously does, because he's got a lot of viewers from it, hasn't he?
But also, the fact that some big YouTubers can have early access to these characters makes it less exciting for smaller YouTubers to make guides on these characters just because of the fact that bigger content creators did these videos already, and copying them wouldn't really necessarily benefit your channel specifically. So again, I've been guilty about it myself, and I was able to learn a lot from it. I used to pump out half-assed guide content that nobody really cared about, but as I grew as a content creator and understood what I really wanted to make, I started making content about myself and the game, which I think resonated more towards players or, you know, the community, rather than just making stale content that's already been around.
Yeah, man, you got to try and switch it up a little bit, and you're like, you know, you need to pivot sometimes in content creation, whether it's the game, because the game itself is just going nowhere, whether it's the niche that you've carved yourself within the game, you might have to pivot and tackle things in a different way, or if you're not, you continue in the same thing you've been doing, but like switch it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Switch it up like where you're like, I don't know, you're adding a new style of editing. You're doing a different style of like of orating, like, you know, you're tackling the content that you're doing normally, but just doing it in a different way as well.
Or has been
take notes, pigs. Fuck out of here.
Extremely saturated. I remember watching a video about
don't get me started on defense, bro. You know, last night, because I had to get, you know, the weekly what's it done, you have to like tune 50 echoes. I was like, you know what? Let's do some Havoc echoes, and actually let's do some Glacio ones as well for Sanhua, because I want to build her up, because obviously I want to do Danjin and Sanhua, so I've got the basic attack buff from Sanhua and the Havoc buff from Danjin, depending on what I want to play. And I was like, right, let's do some. I got back-to-back defense on 3 fucking echoes, and I was just like, fuck this game, bro. Double defenses as well. Ridiculous.
By Gamba AJ, please look at his channel if you'd like. He's a really good person. But he was talking about how he felt that his channel was dying because he really wasn't able to truly express himself, since he always made like guide content. And
I think that video with Gamba was, I think Gamba needs to set himself up a second channel, if I'm honest, because he's got himself a niche within Wuthering Waves, and I think he should probably stick to that, because I think he uses YouTube to pay the bills from what he was saying. And like, he's at a level of views now where he's probably just about getting by in that regards. I don't know, obviously his situation, I don't claim to, you know, because I know the numbers of revenue you're talking. So like, if you're using it for that, it's probably tight. So I'd keep to doing that, because I think if he pivoted out of Wuthering Waves, I think he'd probably, you know, especially if he went out to Gacha, he'd probably see a massive fall off in the content. I think as well, because Gamba's like, is the doo-doos on it right away in regards to like dev notes, tweets, you know, little bits of information like that. And sometimes if they go a bit radio silent for a few days, I guess it's frustrating as that kind of content creator, because like that's your bread and butter. I suppose it's the same for leak channels. When there ain't no leaks, they start just making shit up, don't they? You know what I mean? And I ain't saying that some of the leaks it made up, but you've noticed it, yeah. When the leaks go quiet, these dudes just come out with wild fucking theories and add them up that them actually leaks and they've heard this information. It's like, you heard that shit last night before you went to bed while you was lying in bed. Nobody told you that.
News content and stuff like that, and that really resonated with me, since I felt the same way about my channel. The less creative I get, the more regret I'll feel making videos that I don't want. But what he also said is that gacha content is always like that, filled with, you know, gacha guides, news, and no creative content that can be expressed in videos. But honestly, I would say no to that, and here's why. Well, the simple reason behind it is that what truly limits your creativity isn't really the game itself, but just your imagination. And I think a lot of people, as they grow, they become less.
I think it's your imagination, and it's fear as well. YouTube's a cruel mistress, like I say. You start making a particular kind of content, people resonate with it, and you feel like, well, I've got to create within this small niche, this focus again. And it does reward you for that as well. So like, it can stifle creativity in a way, YouTube can in that regards. That's why, like, you know, I respect people like Saint, and I respect people like Kazuhana, who can keep coming up with content when really all they're feeding off is morsels, but they're turning it into a video. Whatever you think of the video, for the better or the worse, it's a talent and it's a skill that I think a lot of people struggle with, because the amount of times I've sat there and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to talk about. I need to react to somebody else's shit. You know?
less and less creative since they
All right,
become
Chase, catch you later.
worried about work and how they need to, create a livelihood. And again, that's pretty fair in my opinion. But I feel like
I agree with
what's
that, Riley,
limiting
yeah.
the Wuthering Waves community from truly shining and becoming better.
That's why I like to play a bunch of games,
lack
really.
of creativity. But then again, having guide content dying nowadays could be a very good thing because it will sort of.
Oh, I'm interested to see what he's got to say about this here. Let me just drag that back. I just wanted to say though, that's why like I'll make videos on new gacha games, that I've seen that I'm interested in, knowing full well they ain't gonna get views because most people on my channel, from what I've noticed anyway, in regards to gacha, they're more interested in Wuthering Waves and like Wuthering Waves talking about, or talking about Wuthering Waves and other gacha games and maybe comparisons and talking about Genshin and maybe a little bit about PG. Well, PGR actually does all right on my channel actually. But when I mention a new game, they're just like, they can do like 10% of the views of some of the other videos. Sometimes now and again they'll do all right. Like the Never Needs to Ever Needs videos did all right. The Project 2 third video did decent. But usually when I talk about a new gacha game, nobody wants to know about that shit, you know what I mean? But I've got to upload it because I'm interested in it, so, just is what it is.
This could be a very good thing because it will sort of force YouTubers to truly be creative with their content and actually express themselves rather than just view farming. And I think Wuthering Waves is going through that direction right now, which is amazing in my opinion. We can take an example of Saint Tantas. I think he's like a great example for a Wuthering Waves YouTuber. Even though he does make gacha guides content now and then, he still does interesting topics that people actually want to watch and talk about. And
It's true, they do. The views are there, there's no denying it.
I want to start doing that too because, I feel like expressing myself.
Just realised I haven't done my daily in Genshin,
showing my true self
Alright, no worries, man. Have a good day.
Is way more fun.
Get back to work.
In my opinion. Also, maybe doing challenges or just topics that I want to discuss about the game to make it more fresh and more engaging. And again, if any content creator is watching this, then I think you should be doing it more to start, making a
Top one with a CC, by the way. Saint. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me if he is. Is he? Well, I guess he is because he's specifically Woo, isn't he? Like the other big gacha content creators, they're gacha content creators, aren't they? I'm thinking of like your Gacha Smacks, your Braxes, I don't know, like your M-Tashts, your Tectones. They play other stuff as well, don't they? Yeah, probably.
positive community and just having a better community to hang out with. So that was basically it for the video. It was something that kind of like I was watching a Tectone video and I saw about about gacha guide content dying and I kind of wanted to.
I think that's why a lot of gacha channels react to stuff. That's why I started doing it, because like sometimes there's just not shit to talk about. You know what I mean?
Speak about my thoughts about the issue and discuss it basically.
And just
so if you guys found it relatable or informative or entertaining, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Wuthering Waves content. I'm gonna try to make cool, discussion videos as much as possible to, freshen up the channel and make it really, really nice.
Alright,
so
cool.
thank you
I'll
guys
be
so much for
looking forward to
watching.
the videos.
Leave a like, subscribe, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Yeah, I think
Guide
poignant video actually, because I agree. I think if you're trying to get into guide content within, let's just say specifically Wuthering Waves, but in general gacha, it's probably a really hard space to get into now. I think you've got to be coming at the game from a totally different angle to everybody else, trying to be like hyper focused maybe on specific things rather than, hey, let me just show you how to build Jinlin, or let me just show you how to build fucking whatever. And maybe like talking about specific things within a build and the synergy in using that specific thing with other characters to get the most out of a particular play style or rotation or whatever it might be. But then I think there's a hard thing that comes with that is how do you turn that, which you could probably go through in a few minutes, into a 10+ minute video? Because really you need your videos if you're going to be, wanting YouTube to pick them up in the algorithm as well. You're going to be looking at like, you want to be doing your videos for like 9 minutes plus, really. Because shorter videos do less for CPM and all that sort of stuff as well. You can have short videos that do well as well, but just in general, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, you know what? I've got a lot of respect for guide channels because I couldn't do it. I'm too much of a smooth brain and I wouldn't find it entertaining to do either, you know what I mean? I really find it boring if I'm honest. And anytime I've ever looked at guide stuff in the past, there's usually one specific thing that I'm not quite getting. So I don't care about 90% of the video. I'll just scan through and I'm like, yes, that's what I needed to know. Oh, I get it now. And then bounce, you know what I mean?